All right, let's dive right in and crack the code on one of the most powerful forces in the human mind, curiosity. Today, we're going to unpack the actual science behind what gets us fired up to learn something new. You know, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? For every teacher, every parent, every manager, shoot, for any of us just trying to learn something on our own. We've all been there, right? Staring at a book or sitting in a meeting, and our brain is just anywhere else. So what's the secret? How do you flip that switch? Well, the answer is kind of surprising, and it goes against what a lot of us think. It's not about just dumping more information on people or giving them all the answers up front. The real magic, the real secret sauce, is making the brain need the answer by creating a gap, an information gap that it feels this deep, urgent need to fill. Okay, so to really get this, we first have to understand why the old ways of teaching often fall flat. It all comes down to this basic mismatch between how we try to get information into people's heads and how our brains are actually wired to work. Think about it. When you're just passively listening or reading, you're basically a spectator at a game. But our brains, they don't want to be in the stands. They want to be on the field, playing. They thrive on puzzles, on challenges, on figuring things out. So when we're just told to absorb facts without any problem to solve, our brains just check out. That feeling of boredom, that's a signal. It's your brain telling you its best hardware isn't even being used. So if the brain wants a problem, how do we give it one? Well, the answer lies in this really powerful psychological idea called the curiosity gap. This is the core mechanism, the engine we can use to kickstart that motivation we're all after. The scientific term for this is deprivation sensitivity. This idea really took off back in 1994 thanks to a guy named George Lowenstein. He argued that curiosity isn't just some mild interest, it's an urgent feeling, almost like being hungry or thirsty. When your brain realizes there's something it doesn't know, it creates this uncomfortable feeling, and we are hardwired to want to make that feeling go away. Honestly, a much easier way to think about it is this. Creating a curiosity gap is like creating a mental itch, and you know how that feels. Once you know it's there, it's almost impossible to ignore. You just have to scratch it. And in this case, scratching the itch means finding the answer. That feeling is the engine of real, powerful, self-motivated learning. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a really neat theory, but does it actually work? Oh, you bet it does. And it's backed by a mountain of evidence. Let's look at this huge meta-analysis from 2022 that pulled together all the best research on this very topic. This analysis was absolutely massive. It combined the results from 41 different randomized controlled trials, and those are the gold standard in science. It's how you really prove something works. And get this, across all those trials, they had nearly 4,500 people participating. So we're not talking about a small one-off study here. This is a consistent, powerful pattern that shows up again and again. So what was the big result? The final number they landed on was this, an effect size of 0.57. Now, for those of us who aren't statisticians, what that means is that these interventions have a significant, moderate to large effect. It's solid scientific proof that you absolutely can design experiences that make people more curious. But here's where it gets really, really cool. The researchers didn't just ask if it works, they asked what works best. They broke it all down, and while things like mindfulness had a little effect, and playing games worked pretty well, the clear winner by a long shot was mystery. Creating a sense of mystery was the single most effective way to spark curiosity. So the big takeaway here is crystal clear. If you want to get someone's brain fired up, create a mystery. That's how we create that mental itch we were talking about. So let's get practical and break down exactly how you can do that. I mean, the study's authors pretty much spell it out for us right here. To get someone truly engaged, don't just lecture them with facts. Present them with a puzzle, a contradiction, a story that's missing the ending. Pique their curiosity, and their own brain will do all the heavy lifting for you. So how do you actually do this stuff? It's simpler than you think. Here are 4 proven strategies. First, start with a puzzle or a surprising fact that totally goes against what people think they know. Second, don't info dump everything at once. Reveal information bit by bit, like a good mystery novel, making them desperate for the next piece. Third, ask those big, open-ended what-if questions that make the mind wander and explore possibilities. And finally, tease the outcome. Hint at the incredible answer or the amazing solution they're about to discover. And, here's the best part of all. The payoff for sparking curiosity, it isn't just about better grades or remembering a few more facts from a meeting. The positive effects actually ripple out into pretty much every single area of our lives. Study after study shows that people with higher curiosity don't just do better in school. Their memory is better, they're more creative and innovative. At work, they're way more engaged. And get this, they even report having higher overall life satisfaction. Curiosity, it turns out, is a fundamental ingredient for a successful, well-lived life. So let's be really clear about this. What we're talking about is so much bigger than just a classroom trick or a management hack. Learning how to spur curiosity in ourselves and in the people around us is a genuine strategy for a more successful and fulfilling life. It's about building minds that are active, that are engaged, and that are always hungry to learn more. And that, of course, brings us to the final, most important question. Now that you know the science, now that you have the strategy, how are you going to use it? Whether it's for your kids, your team at work, or even just for your own personal growth, I want you to think about it. What mental itch, what curiosity gap will you create today that's going to lead to an amazing discovery tomorrow?